We just got this new Old Town Sportsman PDL 120 and we're going to show you all the cool things we've done to it.
This PDL 120 really is an amazing fishing kayak right out of the box. The seat is extremely comfortable and the stock features are all great. But we did add a bunch of things, starting with this small emergency light on the front. So this is basically a headlight for the front of the kayak when we're paddling around in the dark. It's a solar powered and crank powered flashlight with some Velcro on the backside and some Velcro on the hull. So this way we can have a light off the front just like a headlight, and it can charge with the sun, or we can crank it if needed. This custom seat here we made for our Predator MX, so it fits perfectly on that boat, but it also fits pretty well on this one. So Natalie can sit on this seat and face either forward or backward, and there is actually enough room for her to sit with her legs into the front of the kayak while I'm pedaling, and I was pretty sure that would not be the case. I did not think she would be able to sit with her legs in the kayak while I am pedaling, but in fact she can. We also bought an insert from Navarre Kayak Fishing, which is here on the seat. This fits into the bottom of the kayak, right where the drive sits, and then you can take the kayak out without the pedal drive if you'd like, and just use it as a paddle-driven kayak. So that's nice for us to take out when we want some more room in the boat, or more room for Natalie to sit. We could even put a small chair down there for her to sit in inside the actual kayak. Now inside the hatch we have the battery for our sonar system. So inside that lunchbox is an 18 amp hour lithium battery. And then we have a bag of random essentials in there: fish grips, gloves, rain parka, pliers, some rags, rope to use as a stringer or a handle or whatever. And then we have our wires going up to the Humminbird Helix 7 Mega Side Imaging Sonar unit. So these wires, we decided not to do a through hull wiring system. We instead cut a groove into the hatch cover, so into the inner rim also. And this way all the wires can just fit inside this notch. They can still sit down all the way and be buckled with the bungee strap. And this way we didn't have to drill any holes into the actual boat. We decided to do it this way first to try it out and see how we liked it, see how it performed, because you can buy another one of these hatch covers for 20 bucks or whatever, so it's no big deal if we decided that we didn't like this or it wasn't performing the way we wanted it to. We could buy a new hatch cover and replace it and then do it a different way. I do have a through hull wiring kit here, so if we do end up deciding to go that route, we'll probably drill it through right here and then pop it out right here behind the Helix 7. Taking a closer look at the sonar unit, we have it on a YakAttack mount. This is specially made for the Helix units. So it has a base that is already set up for mounting this kind of a unit. And again, this is the Helix 7 with the Mega Side Imaging 7-inch screen. It's been a really nice unit for us. On the sides we have two YakAttack Omega Pro rod holders. These are really nice for this particular kayak, and they're great for trolling. Here's why I like them so much for trolling. The Omega Pros have two spots where you can rest a spinning reel. The back side, if you put it all the way to the back, you can see how that rod butt is in the way of your legs when you're pedaling. But you can move it forward to this position, and then the butt of the rod is about even with the edge of the boat. So there's plenty of room for your leg to move through here, and you don't end up hitting the rod butts at all with your knees. So for trolling with this particular boat, you will want a rod holder that has at least a 4-inch extension bar right here to get the rod away from the boat far enough that it's out of the way of your legs. If you use something without an extension bar like this, if it were just a mount right here, you would not be able to pedal because your rod would be in the way of your legs. There's a small waterproof compartment in front of the PDL drive, so we keep a bolt cutters in there along with a ratchet and 14mm socket that fits the prop nut. So if we need to take that off to take out some fishing line we got tangled in, or place a broken shear pin, that's what these are. So we always have a few extra shear pins laying around. In the side pockets we've got clippers and a knife. On the other side we've got some aluminum corrosion resistant fishing pliers. And then underneath the seat On a little retractable reel, we've got line scissors for cutting braided line and a small hemostat if we need to unhook something small like a shiner, a chub, or a small bluegill or something to our bait. We've got that in easy reach at all times. Here's that floor insert from Nabare Kayak Fishing that fits into the bottom right down in here. Moving down the kayak, we've got our Field and Stream Angler carbon fiber paddle here. We added this 40-inch vinyl sticker. This paddle does have a 16-inch printed ruler on it, but come on, 16 inches is not very much. So we added this 40-inch ruler to it. We have some gripper cleats mounted to each side right behind the seat. These are for the anchor stakes that we use to keep us in a specific position for bottom fishing or for bobber fishing when we're after bowfin, carp, catfish, things like that. We have a landing net. This is just from Walmart. It's a Frable rubberized net. We cut the handle a little bit so it's not sticking up so much and acting as quite as much of a sail when we're out on the water. This is a homemade crate. We have 6 rod holders in the back and the side, and then we have a motorcycle net, a bungee net over the top to hold things in if we did end up tipping over, which is pretty unlikely with this boat. Inside we also have an anchor. This is a 3-pound kayak anchor, and it is attached with 550 paracord to this clothesline reel, so it automatically reels the slack back in. And if we drop this down into the water, we can also use this gripper cleat to just tie the line off on this cleat. So it's a really easy, fast system for deploying an anchor, or we can use the anchor stakes if we're in shallow water and we don't want to move at all. We just want to stay in a very specific position. The Sportsman PDL 120 comes with this bungee cord in the back already over this tank well. So we wrap this around a couple of our rod holders over here and then also over here. And this helps to just lock down the crate so it's not bouncing around, and ideally would hold it down in the case of us flipping as well. And moving around to the back side, this is a light that I bought for the PDL. It's a Kaya light, which is a really cool design actually. I really like it. And I was trying to figure out where I was going to mount this thing because it mounts to an eye bolt. You have to have some kind of an eyelet for it to mount to because it uses a carabiner to lock to an eyelet. And so I was trying to figure out where can I put an eyelet where I can actually reach the back side and put a nut on there so it's secure. And I realized that back here we've got 4 screws that are included from the factory for mounting a power pole anchor stake system. And the threads in the brass inserts underneath these screws actually happen to be a perfect match to some eye bolts that I had laying around. So this is just 1/2 by 2.5 inch eye bolt. I cut it down so it's a little bit shorter, and the light actually mounts right to that. At the base of this light we have a carabiner attached to some bungee cord. So this just hooks right onto the eyelet, and then you pull on the bungee cord to draw it in. It sits right over the top of that eyelet, and you pull it tight and wrap it around the cleat, and that's it. It's a really simple design that works really well, and you can shake the boat around and that light doesn't move at all. The light works by just turning it clockwise to turn on, counterclockwise to turn off. It has 3 AA batteries inside, so that's nice. You can always have extra batteries on hand. We also bought some universal scupper plugs for the boat. We had to go through a couple of sets of these to find ones that would actually fit. So I'll leave a link below to the ones that actually ended up fitting really well in the PDL 120. The other thing we've done for the PDL is to modify our Railblaza C-Tug cart. This is a fairly heavy kayak at about 95 pounds, so you do need a small cart to transport it across a parking lot, down a trail, something like that. The C-Tug is a fantastic little cart. We love this thing. It works really well with the Predator MX, but the pads of the cart do not really jive with the bottom of the PDL. So we had to modify it somehow. We decided to use a 3/4 inch piece of plywood with a small U-bolt in 2 different corners, and these are attached directly to the pads of the C-Tug. And then we have some non-skid shelf liner attached to the top side just for some grip and a little bit of padding for the boat. You can see here that it works really well with the PDL. We were really excited to use it with the C-Tug and pretty disappointed that it didn't work with such a nice cart. So we had to come up with something, and this was a really nice, pretty easy modification to make sure that the C-Tug would work for the PDL. So we just have to take off a couple of wing nuts to take off this board, and then we could use it with the Predator MX also. If you have any comments or questions on our setup, please leave them in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed yet to our channel, please consider doing that, and we'll see you out on the water.